Welcome back to the 31305 podcast. This is episode Lucky 13, right?
It
Nick?
is 13, yeah.
13. I'm Taylor, as always, joined by my buddy Alex, who is yet again in a new location for this recording.
I'm keeping it interesting, I'm trying to make sure that, you stay on your toes with each place that I record at.
We had a very fun week, I would say, in sports. There was a lot of stuff that's gone on in the last like 3 or 4 days, from buzzer beaters to almost buzzer beaters to a Georgia top, draft pick now being arrested in the last couple hours that's come out. Anything interesting happened to you in the last week since we talked? It's been a fun week in sports, but
I passed both my midterms, which was cool. I bought a new desk, which is coming in on Sunday, but I don't know, nothing really too interesting.
all right. Well, then nothing too interesting. I guess we can get right into it. We'll start with some college basketball. We haven't really talked a ton about college basketball on the pod lately, but I don't know if you saw this game. I was watching it waiting for, I think the Auburn Kentucky game was on after this game on CBS on Saturday. Arizona State versus Arizona, number 7 Arizona. Half court buzzer beater to win the game, rivalry game. ASU was like on the bubble, needed the win, and one of the most miraculous shots you'll see gives ASU the win. Did you catch any of that?
I caught the very end, and I want to say this is March. It is officially March 1st,
It is. It
so
is
college
officially. Brackets are
college
now going to be made.
college basketball is definitely going to be on this podcast. But I caught the very end of this game. Arizona somehow let Arizona State hang around for most of this game, and Arizona State got the dub at the end. They've been one of the most inconsistent teams in the country. Arizona State has, they can go and beat number 7 ranked Arizona, but then they lost to Texas Southern earlier this year. They lost to San Francisco by 37, but they also beat Michigan by 25. So it's a very weird team, very weird situation they're in, the last 4 in right now for Joe Lunardi's bracketology. But I mean, it's a big win. That he literally said if they didn't win this game, they do not make the tournament unless they automatically qualify. So it's a huge win for the program, and hopefully they can win one of the last 2 games to make it to March.
Speaking of Michigan, I didn't even write this one down because I didn't know if we talked about it. But since you brought Michigan up, I don't know if you saw the way Michigan won their game against Wisconsin. I want to say it was Wisconsin or Rutgers or someone with a Hunter Dickinson like the 183 pointer to send it to overtime.
I did see, because Hunter Dickinson did post on Instagram, which I think you retweeted on your Instagram
Probably.
or put on your story. But I did see the finish. I did see that crazy shot, but I didn't catch who actually won. Did Michigan actually catch the win?
Michigan ended up winning in overtime by like 8 or something. So not
Gotcha.
not quite sure why they drew it up to Hunter Dickinson for the final shot of the game, but I mean, hey, it worked out, I guess.
I mean, yeah, exactly. They won, and they're another team that's like going to be on that bubble. I mean, they probably got to win
I think
their last games,
as of
but
right now they're out. They're like the first teams out, which is weird because they're second in the Big Ten, but they're tied with like 6 teams in the Big Ten that are all like, I don't know what their record is, like 11-7 or something in the Big Ten.
yeah, but they're
So
17-12 overall, which is
yeah,
why they're there.
yeah.
So if they
So
can beat Illinois and Indiana, I think they're in.
yeah,
Those are the
it
last 2
definitely should
games.
be. It's just weird seeing like Michigan second in the Big Ten, and then 4 teams under them are all projected like 8-9 seeds, and Michigan's projected out. Not something you normally see, but that's what
Mm-hmm.
happens when you have a week out of conference schedule.
Yeah, what happens when you, like I said, lose to Arizona State? I mean, they lost to Virginia by 2, so that's not. They lost to Kentucky. They lost to good teams, barring Central Michigan, who they lost to as well. But you got to win your out of conference games. It's no easy journey to the brackets. I don't know if Michigan's gonna make it, but I think if they win their last 2, they will.
Your team, the Miami Hurricanes, were also in one of the better games of the weekend. I didn't watch it. You told me about it, and I looked it up. So I'm gonna let you take over for this Canes heartbreaker.
Yeah, Canes were up 25 at home to Florida State, who was sucked this season, and they essentially 2 minutes after the second half, they decided to just try and coast and just not play hard. So Florida State managed a 25-point comeback. Miami has the ball with 4 seconds left, hits a 3 in the corner to go up 2. Florida State inbounds the ball, just gets past half court. Prayer goes up, nothing but net. Florida State wins, ends Miami's undefeated streak at home. They hadn't lost at home at all this season. Now only Duke hasn't lost at home in the ACC. And it didn't cost Miami anything yet, thankfully, because they play on Saturday for the ACC title. So if they win that game against Pittsburgh, they'll win the ACC title, which I'll be at that game to watch to see if it happens. But just a heartbreak, just such a letdown. You know, this team was on a 6-game win streak. They could have won 7 straight. They could have been honestly going towards a 3 seed in the tournament. And now they're on that 4 or 5 line again. So just disappointment, but hopefully they'll bounce back on Saturday.
Yeah, they had a good run last year in the tournament, did they not? I know they beat us in the round of 32. I don't remember how much farther they went after that because I just stopped watching because it was a heartbreaker. But
they made it to the Sweet 16. Right? They lost Jaquan Newton. No, they lost our Sam Wardenberg, our center, who we lost. But we've had Ormier, who's been a transfer, who's been really good this year, and it's like second in the ACC in rebounds. But Isaiah Wong's back. You know, Nigel Pack's been a great addition to the team. I mean, this team is going to win a game in March. Like, they're going to win a game in the bracket, and they could honestly beat that 5 or even that 6 seed if they're the 3 seed in the matchup. So they're a good team because they have really good. They don't foul much. They don't turn the ball over much. They're really good from free throw land. Like, they don't make any mistakes. So they're a very good team. So hopefully I'll be able to say they're ACC champs on Saturday.
Can't relate to having a team in the NCAA tournament because I do not think my Auburn Tigers will be making it this year.
You never know. You know, they have if they win tonight against Alabama, I think.
Yeah, if we win one of these last 2, we're in. But I mean, at Bama I'm chalking this one up as an L. And then Saturday, home against Tennessee, which is definitely a winnable game from what we saw last time we played Tennessee in the bullshit calls. At home, if we win one of those and then win an SEC tournament game, we're probably in. I think we're on like the line of like 9 or 10 right now, so we still have a little bit of wiggle room. But if we lose both of these games, lose both of these and then don't win in the SEC tournament, I definitely understand why we wouldn't make it in.
You're right now in the last 4 buys. That's what Joe Lenardi has you at. So you're not in the last 4 in, but because the last 4 in on the plan, you know, for the first 4, but you're still like you can't lose in the SEC tournament. If you lose that first game in the tourney and you lose these last 2, you're not making it.
See, like that's the thing though, is if there's so much room for like if we beat Bama and Tennessee, we go from a 10 seed to a 7 seed.
For sure.
If we lose to Bama and Tennessee, we don't make the tournament. So there's so much of it. Like we could still like if we go out and miraculously win the next 2, win the SEC tournament, we're a 5 seed.
Yeah, it's March. It's madness. It's madness. That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Speaking of Auburn's opponent tonight, Alabama, who has a ton of shit just going haywire over there, is still on their winning ways. Almost lost to South Carolina in overtime in Brandon Miller's first game after everything happened, dropped 41 points. I wish South Carolina had fans because there were some pretty good signs. There were some pretty good. I think they were chanting "lock him up" the entire time he touched the ball. They ended up winning, layup to win in overtime, and then the next game against Arkansas, I think it was at Bama. Probably, I think
it was at Bama.
Win by 3. They were down most of the game and ended up making a second half comeback and then almost get beat on another buzzer beater, which would have been like the 5th one of the weekend. I don't know if you saw the intro to the Arkansas game for Brandon Miller where they patted him down, but dude, what the fuck are they doing over it? Like, what is going on? They just don't give a shit.
Nate Oates is a liar. Like, he at first said, "Oh, I had no idea what it was. Like, we don't approve that in the program." 2 days later, he comes out saying, "Oh, it was all my idea for the pat down. Don't punish the player." This man is willing to do whatever it takes. So Brandon Miller does not miss any game time because he was their team. Like against Arkansas and against South Carolina, he was their offense. Like they don't win or come back in either of those games without him. And I mean, he had a great game, great response to the adversity. Again, should he be playing? It's not for me to make that call.
He shouldn't be playing.
He shouldn't be playing.
I'll make that call. He shouldn't be playing.
But he shouldn't be playing. But I mean, for him to have that response to it too, because you know people could be affected by it, like you said, the signs, the fans, and for him to come out and power his team through those 2 games is crazy. If this game against Auburn was in Auburn, It would
Oh
be
my God.
ruthless. It would be ruthless at
I would
this
have
time.
gone. I would have had to go. I know we're gonna lose, but like if this was in Auburn, I would have gone just to make a sign.
Yeah. So they now have a huge game upcoming because if they beat Auburn, they win the SEC. If they lose against Auburn tonight and Texas A&M doesn't fumble their last game like they did against Mississippi State, then that game at Texas A&M is for the SEC regular season title. So they have they need to win this game tonight against Auburn. They can win either to secure it, but I think that the coach is just a liar. And I mean, there needs to be something done by the NCAA because Bama, Alabama, the cops, the coach, the administrators, they're not going to do anything.
Yeah. Shout out Texas A&M too. What a year for them. Finally in the top 25. I think they're 24. Had like a quietly great like if it was Kentucky in second place, we wouldn't hear the end of it. But like Texas A&M in second place in the SEC, like nobody's talking about it. They beat a lot of good teams. They beat us twice. But really good year for them after missing the tournament in a pretty controversial fashion last year, going to the NIT, and then coming back this year. They're gonna finish. I don't think they can finish lower than second at this point. Maybe they
No,
can.
because they beat
They
Tennessee.
beat Tennessee, so yeah, they can't. So I mean, they're gonna finish at least second in the SEC. But yeah, the Brandon Miller, Nate Oates, it's a celebration that's happened all year. It's a TSA pat down to make sure you're clear for takeoff. I've never once been patted down at TSA. From what I know, you only get patted down at TSA if you're suspected of having some sort of weapon that can harm someone. So this is just one of the absolute worst looks for a program, and it's Bama, so we shouldn't be surprised they do whatever they can to win. The fact that Nate Oates he keeps digging his own hole. Like, why? You're in one already. He's just digging it deeper.
Yeah, this program is going to have some very interesting times in the next couple of weeks. Because I mean, you know they're going to make it to the tournament. You know they're going to be a top 2 seed at the worst 3 if they lose the rest of their games, right? So, like, I mean, the number 2 team in the country. So, for them to have to go through this and in March, I don't know if they're going to have the resolve enough to win their second game. You know, they'll win their first game, but to win their second game against that 8-9 seed or even that 7-10 matchup, I don't know if they're going to win because, I mean, they're barely holding on against a not great South Carolina team on the road.
South Carolina is one of the worst teams in the SEC. They are not good.
Like, against the down a year for Arkansas at home also. That's what I'm saying. It would have surprised me if I think the line is -10 for Bama tonight against Auburn.
We are not covering that at all. I'm sorry.
I would not be surprised if Auburn makes it a 6-point game.
Dude, did you see what happened when we played Kentucky? We lost by 34.
Yeah, and Arizona State lost to San Francisco by 37, and then they beat Arizona still. So I mean, it's March. Things can happen. It's madness.
I mean, I guess, but like we just aren't good, and Bama is, as much as I hate to say it, is good. But like, imagine this team loses in the Sweet 16. I think everybody in college basketball is rooting for this team to fail.
Yep, I agree.
I think that's pretty much it for you know what, on the spot right now. It's March 1st. Who's winning March Madness?
Oh God, I'm gonna say Baylor. If you had to put that towards me, top 10 team. They've lost all their games. They've been really close. They've been in every game they've played. They're really good. They obviously won the title 2 years ago. I'm gonna put Baylor.
I'm gonna take Houston. Early prediction: Houston.
Okay, sticking with the 1 seed.
Marcus Sasser's just too good.
Okay. Also, shout out Marquette with Shaka Smart. They've been a really good team this year. Shout out Marquette.
I want to make sure I said this right. I think it's Marcus Sasser, right? Or am I just like completely
for Houston for the player?
Yeah.
You're right.
I was like, it's definitely Marcus Sasser.
Yeah.
Houston, no, taking it all.
We'll cover college more out because this week has already started conference tournament play. You know, the Atlantic Sun started.
The Sun has already started. The Sun Belt started.
Horizon League is also starting. I think tomorrow.
It's a bunch of shit that no one cares about. I know FGCU lost their first game. Our local.
Of course
college.
They did.
Yeah.
Yep. So bad.
Nothing, dude. Do you know it's been 10 years since Dunk City?
Of course, 2013. Yes.
I feel like it's been longer than that.
Someone was
like,
10
it's
years.
been 10 years since Dunk City, and I was like, no, it's been at least 15. I still vividly remember where I was that day. That's crazy.
Yeah, I remember they spelled it FL.GC.University. They didn't know how to abbreviate Florida Gulf Coast University. By the second game, they had it right against UF for the third game, but not against Georgetown. They didn't have a clue.
I don't know if we'll ever. I mean, we've had runs like that with like Loyola Chicago and
Oral Roberts.
Oral Roberts, yeah, but I don't think like the level of excitement and the added run will ever happen again.
It was just the flair that they won by. It was like, I'm going to dunk on your entire team.
6'4" white dudes throwing alley oops off the backboard to each other. It's like, how can you not love that?
Otto Porter Jr. is just standing there like, what? I'm supposed to be a top 10 prospect. I'm not supposed to lose to FGCU. Yeah.
But I think that's it for college basketball, unless you have anything else.
No, we'll cover the conference tournaments and the regular season champions next week. So we'll be good.
Oh yeah, I forgot this is actually the last weekend of that's it. And the tournament starts 2 weeks from this weekend?
2 weeks from today is the second first 4 games, and then 2 weeks from tomorrow starts the regular round of 64.
So 2 weeks from today or from tomorrow, we're gonna have March Madness, which is crazy.
Yeah, it won't come out. Brackets will be made.
Yep, exactly. We will be breaking down brackets because there probably will be no other news on those weeks other than college basketball.
That's true.
We had the NBA return from their All-Star break, which was, for some reason, 9 days, which is just way too long for basketball. I think every like hockey, I think has 3 days. I don't know what the MLB's is, but I don't think it's that long at all.
Baseball is Monday, home run derby, Tuesday All-Star game, Wednesday day off, and then generally nobody plays on Thursday.
Yeah,
so 4.
Still 4 days off. Hockey's 3 or 4 days off, and I mean the Pro Bowl is off because it's
after the season.
It's after the season, but 9 days is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
76ers. What a week they had. Their comeback versus the Grizzlies down in the last 5 minutes went on a 24-8 run. They had a thriller against Boston. Jason Tatum hits a shot with about a second left, step back 3, and then Joel Embiid, full court heave almost, goes in after the buzzer. And then they played Miami. James Harden missing a wide open 3 to lose the game. So the 76ers were definitely the story of the week with insane endings.
Yeah, every game, like, it was all at home. So it was, except for the Celtics games in Boston, but like just the excitement in the arena when they came back to beat Memphis was crazy insane. Like, because it was just them going on the run, having great defensive stops after Jaren Jackson had blocked Joel Embiid in the first half on a crazy block. Embiid got him back
the other day.
Yes, I did.
Oh my God, dude! It was last night, wasn't it?
It was yesterday, yeah.
Bro, that man bodied Anthony Davis.
Yeah, that's why he's on my fantasy team, Jaren Jackson. But yeah, the Sixers have had a crazy week. I mean, they lost on some unbelievable plays. I mean, I don't know if you saw the layup that Jimmy Butler had. It was spin move around PJ Tucker, cutting between 2 defenders for other side of the hoop off the glass layup. It was literally looking like Michael Jordan. And I know there's rumors that Jimmy Butler is Michael Jordan's son.
He is, in fact, Michael Jordan's son.
He is, in fact, Michael Jordan's son with what he did. But crazy performance, they are looking like, even though they're the 3 seed in the East, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they came out of the East. The Bucks and Celtics we'll get to in a second have been playing great basketball, but Philly's really figured it out since mid-December. So they've had a crazy week of games. So very entertaining basketball to watch. I know they're playing today or tomorrow, but I'd probably tune in if I wasn't. Just kidding. I know exactly who they're playing. They're playing the Heat at home. They're playing the Heat in Miami today. So I'll be watching that game again.
A couple of things before we get into the NBA. Before I forget them, because I didn't write them down. The Clippers 0-3 with Russell Westbrook on the team. Any thoughts?
So Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless actually asked this morning, and I kind of agree with what they both said. They both agreed that it's not his fault they're losing the games. They're playing crap defense. I mean, we'll get to it in literally a second, how they gave up 176 points to the Kings in double overtime. But they just haven't played good defense. I mean, and it's also 3 games. Like, if this was without Russell Westbrook, you probably wouldn't bat an eye. But since he just joined the team, you're like, oh my gosh, is he the cause? But he's put up almost the same numbers he put up with the Lakers, a little bit better efficiency. But, I mean, he had like a weird turnaround fadeaway down 6 in their last game, which was almost an air ball. So, I mean, he has been playing a little bit selfishly, but I wouldn't blame him for their losses. He's doing more good than bad in the games
Yeah.
he's played.
It's definitely going to take a little bit to mesh. I know he's in the starting lineup. He wasn't in the starting lineup in LA. He's starting, right?
Yeah,
They literally have nobody else to play. But
Terrence Mann is their also point guard.
He was the bubble god, Terrence Mann.
He's still good
last year. He's all right, but him and T.J. Warren went crazy in the bubble.
Yeah.
I don't know. Russell Westbrook is like obviously not still in his prime. It's gonna take a while, but yeah, 0-3. I'm not too worried. I don't know who they play. I mean, they played the Kings. Who did they play last night?
They played Denver in their next game.
So, tough competition. Another trade deadline acquisition: Kyrie Irving. Kyrie and Luka are 1-4 together. So that one I feel like is a little bit more worrying than Russell Westbrook.
Kyrie has taken the last shot twice in 2 of their losses and has missed in both of them. So I think their numbers and productivity has been good, but it's like what we talked about before. The defense has been worse because they traded their best defender, Dorian Finney-Smith, to Brooklyn in the deal. So I think come playoff time, it actually I think is going to get better for them because it's more like you need to have like top tier talent to win one-on-one situation versus the stretch of the season. But I think similar to Westbrook on the Clippers, it will take a little bit of time. I'm a little bit concerned, but mainly for their defense, not because of Kyrie's offense. Like they've been doing great together offensively, sharing the ball.
Yeah, but on the other hand, we've got we're winding down with 20 or so games for a lot of teams, and the West is completely just packed in the middle. Going 1-4, you could be the 3rd seed, go 1-4, and you're in the play-in now all of a sudden. So these are really important games that they need to figure out how to start winning. Because with my next point, we haven't seen what the Suns look like with KD yet. We know that the Nuggets are good. We know that the Grizzlies are good. There's going to be a lot of movement in this like 3 through 10 kind of area in the West. You can't be losing 4 or 5 games. You're going to have to probably tread 500 if you even want to stay in the talk of being in the top 6. That's going to bring me to the next point. KD makes his return to the court, his Suns debut tonight at Charlotte at 5 o'clock my time. Any idea? I think he's going to be on a minutes restriction, but what's his stat line tonight?
21, 5, and 4. I'm going to say, because, I mean, they're going to blow out Charlotte. I mean, we'll get to it in a little bit. LaMelo Ball just factors in go out for the season. So, I mean, I know the Hornets are on a 5-game win streak and they have decent depth besides Ball, but yeah, they're going to win. They're 10-point favorites right now. I think they'll ease them in. I mean, they don't really have a big game. They have this one today. They play Chicago in 2 days on the road, and then they go to Dallas. And I think when they play Dallas on Sunday, that'll be the time for KD to have not a minutes restriction. I think they'll do it for 2 games.
That'll be the Unleash KD game.
Because he even said he doesn't want to come back at 85 or 70%. He wants to come back close to fully healthy. So I think they'll give him 2 days to fully. I wouldn't surprise if he comes off the bench today, honestly. But I think
They haven't announced starters yet, so.
Yeah, but
playing tonight.
I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be fine.
It sucks too, because like they got KD at the trade deadline, which was a couple of weeks ago, and then played like one home game he wasn't ready for, had the All-Star break, another home game he wasn't ready for, and then a 2-week road trip. So his first game at Footprint Center here in Phoenix is March 8th.
Next Wednesday,
yeah. I don't know when the trade deadline, but it's going to be about 3 weeks to a month from the trade deadline from when he was acquired to him making his home debut, which kind of sucks for us Suns fans, but I'm excited. I think he's definitely going to be eased in. A game against Charlotte that they're going to beat the shit out of him. He probably won't even play more than 25 minutes if I had to guess. But like I said, we don't know what this team with KD is going to look like, but the other, mid-pack teams that made acquisitions are looking pretty bad. So this is a good time for the Suns to be able to take advantage of these other teams still working out the kinks.
So it's exactly a month. So they acquired him February 8th because it was between their Nets game and the Bulls game that they played. And then March 8th is his debut at home. So it'll be exactly a month when they've got him that he'll finally play a home game in Phoenix.
which is just insane.
But yeah, you're right. Like, you're right. Between like the 6 through 11 seeds in the West are 4 and 6 in their last 10.
Yeah.
The 5 and 6 or the 5 and 4 teams are 6 and 4. So it's literally that 2-game difference right now is the difference between Phoenix and Portland. Like, it's really not that big of a gap between the teams. So like you said, Dallas needs those games. New Orleans all these teams need those games essentially. It's going to make some great basketball though at the end.
Yeah, and speaking of those teams in the middle, the Clippers and the Kings played quite possibly the worst basketball game ever in terms of defense, but maybe the best offensive game we've ever seen. They scored the second most points in NBA history. Double overtime usually inflate a little bit of your stats, but 176 to 175 is ridiculous. 44 from Kawhi, 34 from Paul George, and then De'Aaron Fox had 42. Malik Monk went dummy with like 45 off the bench. We talked about it earlier this year. There is zero defense being played in the league. And we talked about, like, is there going to be a game that breaks the record earlier in the year? We were talking about it, and I don't remember what we said. It almost happened the other night with the Kings and Clippers.
I think what's crazy about that game is it was super high scoring. Only 2 people had more than 4 fouls, and it was Sabonis who fouled out in overtime, and it was Westbrook who fouled out in double overtime. Like, there was really no defense. Because if there's defense play, there's fouls.
Yeah.
And there's people getting to the line. This didn't happen. It was just a 3-point barrage. It was just run up and down the court as quickly as you can, try to score. That's what the Kings did, and that's what they've been doing most of the season. And they won. And I think it alludes to our point earlier about the Clippers just not being able to play defense. Like, this was Westbrook was playing. Yeah, he fouled out in double overtime. But, he played. It was fine. And then they just need to stop. There's no way you can give up 176. And both teams had a shot with 30 seconds left for the Kings to either extend their lead or for the Clippers to win. Game-winning shot goes to Nicholas Batum on a 3-point attempt with 1 second left. You have Kawhi Leonard. You have Paul George. You got Norman Powell. Obviously, Westbrook fouled out. Why Nicholas Batum at the buzzer? And it was
the GOAT, Nicholas Batum, Charlotte Hornets legend.
And it wasn't like from an out-of-bounds play. It was like they had plenty of time after the Kings missed. But, yeah, I mean, no defense played. Even De'Aaron Fox said after the game, he's glad they won. He never wants to play a game like that again because it was just so long also.
What was the score of the All-Star game this year?
All-Star game was, I believe it was more still. It was.
I thought it was like 170 something to 170 something.
184 to 175. Barely.
Okay, so this game almost had more points than the All-Star game.
It was by 8 points.
Everyone knows that the All-Star game doesn't play defense. This game almost did it in 10 more minutes. Just insanely ridiculous. Play some goddamn defense, please.
Maybe they were still stuck on the All-Star game defense. It was both their teams first came back.
Yeah, man, they're just ISOing every play at this point.
Yeah.
I know we talked about Portland a couple minutes ago. Damian Lillard tying Donovan Mitchell for the most points scored this season with 71. I mean, yes, it was against Houston, but still, this man had like 50. Well, no, not 50. He had 13 threes. He was one off the record of Clay. And he took like 38 shots, took 22 3-pointers. What a game from Dame. I said it. I think Dame is one of the most underrated players in the league. He's so good. They have zero talent around him because Anthony Simons has been out. Jeremy Grant is like a 3rd or 4th option on a good team. Like, Dame has to do this all himself. Like, just an incredible performance.
He's my favorite player that's not on the Heat. And
yeah, for sure.
Because he doesn't run from the grind. He is on that. I need to stay one team for the rest of his career.
I don't know what's going on with your internet there, buddy, but you just completely cut out for like 5 seconds.
Oh, really? Am I better now?
Yeah.
But Dame is like, doesn't run from the grind. He is that player that is always on it. He will stay at Portland the rest of his career. And he will literally carry the team like he did on Sunday or Saturday. And he shot 38 times. The team shot 77 times. He shot almost half their total buckets. He scored more than half their points. I mean, this was just a get on my back, I will carry you to victory kind of performance that, I mean, when Donovan Mitchell did it, it was almost the same situation where they were kind of just feeding him the ball in the fourth quarter. It's kind of the same in this case, but yeah, it just showed that Dame is really underrated, and he just needs another player beside him to carry the load because they're a decent team, but not going to be higher than a 5 seed in that Western
No,
Conference.
absolutely not. Even if Dame's dropping, I think he's averaging like between 40 and 45 points over his last 10 games or something. It's going
It's
absolutely
crazy.
crazy. They're still in the ninth seed right now. So even with all that, it's like, okay, but you're not even in a playoff spot. So
Mm-hmm.
I think this also, and I think there's a lot of people that are going to disagree, and I've heard a lot of differing opinions. I think this proves that no one will ever break Wilt's record. No one's hitting 100 in a game unless it's like one of those triple overtime, like the Kings and Clippers game was. Like this man took 38 shots, 22 of them were threes, almost broke the 3-point record in the game, and still only got 71. So I mean, Kobe did it with 81, but Kobe's Kobe. I just don't think anyone's getting close to 100 anytime soon.
It also needs to be a situation where both teams are in it, because even when Kobe did it against the Raptors, the team was down, until the last like 4 minutes of the game where he was just putting up threes. So I think it needs to be a situation where it's a high scoring game, kind of like we saw the Kings and Clippers, but it's in a situation to where just one person's really hot from that team and it's a close game. Because if it's not like it was for
I don't know, buddy. This man's definitely just disconnected. All right, well, I think the rest of this podcast is going on solo until Alex comes back.
and it was Donovan Mitchell towards the end of the game.
Hey,
You think?
buddy.
What's up?
I don't know what's going on with your internet, but you just cut out for like 30 seconds.
Really?
You keep freezing like crazy. I just told everyone this one's going on solo until he comes back because it's just like constant.
And go.
All right, a little bit of technical difficulties. So definitely just you didn't hear us just cut completely out. We will not be having any more technical difficulties for the remainder of this episode. I can guarantee it. Yeah, we were talking about Damian Lillard and his great performance and how no one will ever top 100. And then we were trying to get Alex's thoughts, and he turned into a robot. So let's try this again.
Yeah, Dame is a one man army. I mean, he carried his team. He is not going to run from any challenges or any person convincing him to go join another team. And he legit just took over. He took over half their shots. He scored more than half their points. And he's a player that at any point when you play him with them in 2K, you're like, oh, I can score 50 easily. And it kind of just happened that Portland just needed him to be their leading guy on this night against Houston Swiss Cheese defense. So, like you said, I don't think anyone's going to break Wilt's record because it's got to be a really high scoring game that's competitive. But if there's anyone that can do it, Dame is one of those players that if he did or got close, you're not super surprised.
Yeah, I think it's got to be someone like him that just can throw up 22 threes a game and hit half of them, and you're almost there. Couple more things. I know this episode's already getting really long, so we'll go through them really quick so we can get to some other sports. I know NFL might take a little bit with a lot of news from the NFL. Milwaukee wins their 15th in a row, beat the Suns with no Giannis, beat the Nets last night, and a little bit of note. I think they said Ben Simmons is probably done for the rest of the year because they're tired of him. Good, sit his ass. He sucks. Bucks looking good. They are the team to beat in the East. I think they're winning without Giannis. Like, imagine what this team's gonna do with Giannis. Any quick thoughts on the Bucks?
They're great. Celtics should be scared that if the Bucks have home field advantage, that they're going to take care of Boston this time. So I think that's it.
Yeah, the Bucks Boston conference finals is gonna go wild. LaMelo, we talked about him a little earlier, fractured his ankle against Detroit in the game last week. He's going to be out for the rest of the year. They were looking good, but they were never really a threat to do anything in the East. They are now in the tankathon for Victor Wembanyama, which adds another team. I think there's like 5 teams: the Spurs, the Rockets, Pistons, Um, Charlotte, there's probably another team that's down at the bottom that I can't think of right now. Orlando?
Orlando.
Yeah. All on the tank for Wemby. So we'll see. He's had a lot of ankle injuries, which is a little surprising considered he's relatively new. So something to keep an eye on. They said he should be ready by next year, but it is a little concerning seeing how many ankle injuries he's already had.
He's literally carrying that team. So they need another top talent to come in
Oh
there and
yeah.
help because they have nobody else in that team besides him.
Yeah, but like, who wants to go to Charlotte? Charlotte is not a big market team. Like,
We have the draft. That's why you got to use this top
yeah,
pick.
yeah, the draft. Yeah.
They can't sign anybody. Yeah.
I thought you were talking about free agents. I was like, I'm not going to fucking Charlotte and playing if I'm a top 50 player.
No, the best person they got was Gordon Hayward. Look how that turned out.
Yeah. Last bit of NBA news: LeBron, crybaby out for indefinitely with a right foot injury. They said he's going to be reassessed in 2 weeks. They think it's going to be a longer injury than that. This is a really bad time since they are in the thick of it in the West. Their next couple of games against OKC, Minnesota, and Golden State are also against teams competing in the middle of that Western Conference. And then, Anthony Davis, after he got dunked on last night, he acted like he was hurt. So if that man breathes wrong, he's out for a month and a half. This is scary hours for the Lakers. They got rid of Russell Westbrook, who, I mean, yeah, he's not great, but I feel like he would have been a good veteran presence during this with LeBron out, being able to settle everyone down with everything that he's gone through. Now you lose that. These guys are in trouble. If AD gets hurt, this is going to be a team that goes from, hey, we're making the playoffs, not even the play-in, to we're tanking for Wemby too.
And LeBron even said during the All-Star break that he was ready for some of the most important games of his career in regular season play, for them to carry them back to the play-in tournament at least, not the playoffs. And for him to be out is just a huge blow. I mean, this team doesn't run the same without LeBron playing. So
no.
They're in for a rough stretch. If they don't go at least 500 over these next 6 to 8 games, I don't see them making it.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. They're gonna have to play about 10 games without LeBron at least, it seems like. So if they can't win, 5 or 6 of those games, they are in big trouble. Actually, one more piece of NBA news: Karl Anthony Towns still out with his grade 3 calf or hamstring.
Hamstring.
Is it hamstring? Okay. Grade 3.
He's on my fantasy team.
He's on mine too. Still no news. They said at some point he's gonna play this year, but they don't know when. So another big blow from Minnesota, who traded Walker Kessler, who's been going crazy. He's up to second in Rookie of the Year voting. Paolo's gonna win, but I mean, hey, some love for Walker Kessler. They sold that trade completely to bring in Rudy Gobert, who's done nothing. The Twin Towers have not been great in Minnesota.
I agree. I mean, yeah, Minnesota sold too much to get Gobert. You could have got him for at least 2 less draft picks.
Yeah.
He's not that great.
At this point, I'm taking Walker Kessler over Gobert.
Yeah.
He's way younger. I feel like
contract.
Yeah. Basically the same player. Maybe Rudy Gobert a little bit better scorer, but I mean, right now Kessler's averaging 5 blocks a game over his last 5, so I'm taking that. Mm-hmm. All right, buddy. You know what comes with March?
Spring training. Baseball coming soon.
Training has begun. It's here. The end of the season feels like it was just a couple of months. Well, it was a couple of months ago. Oh, a little longer than that, but October. So I feel like baseball definitely has the shortest off season, right?
I feel like it's the longest because it's usually boring in the off season.
I feel like it's shorter because you get spring training, you get pitchers and catchers reporting mid-February. The World Series is what, end of October?
Usually mid-October. Yeah. But yeah, it's 4 months, but there's usually nothing happens in the off season. Whereas for football, it's so much until the draft, and then after the draft, it's 3 months.
I feel like I digress. Doesn't matter. Spring training's back. Baseball's back. It's so good to hear the sound of home runs, which I will say have sounded different this year. I don't know if you've watched any games. The ball sounds different. I don't know why.
They change it every year. Remember the huge debate last year of the spin that happened with the ball?
And it definitely sounds a lot more hollow, I guess. I think it sounds better, but it definitely sounds different. We've got some new rule changes this year coming in. Bigger bases, pitch timer. I know you're a fan of the pitch clock. I don't know if I am. What's your thoughts on the new rules that have been implemented so far?
So they're not going to have the giant clock behind like it is right now in spring training. But
It's so bad to look at.
that giant clock is going to go away for the regular season games. But I will say I think the speed is better for the casual fan, and for me, like now I know I can't get up to go to the bathroom or get a drink until each half inning. Whereas you could almost essentially do that during a pitching visit or between at bats. And now I think it just eliminates the dead time that doesn't need to be there. Like a hitter readjusting his gloves after every single pitch he takes, or a pitcher grabbing the rosin bag and doing it after every single pitch that they throw, or like the 16 pickoff attempts. I think it's working so far. I haven't seen anything big with the bases yet, like no huge steal attempts increases, but I think you're going to see them in the regular season. But for now, I like it. The games are ending earlier, and it's not taking away too much from the overall experience. And even Max Scherzer as a pitcher said he loves it because he can control the game better.
Yeah, I know they've changed the pickoff attempts from unlimited to you get two. If you throw the third pickoff attempt, it has to result in an out, or else it's a balk. That could be interesting with steals. I think we're definitely going to see steals go way up this year with the new base size, which is significantly larger than it was. It might not look like it, but it definitely is. Those bang bang plays before are going to be like surefire safes. Um, and the pickoffs, yeah, I mean it's going to be harder to hold runners on base now. You only get two pickoff attempts. Sorry, not even two pickoff attempts. You get to step off twice during the at bat. So if you step
Mm-hmm.
off once, you get one pickoff attempt. And then if you want to try and pick them off again, I mean you got to get them or it's a balk. So we're gonna see. I think this is gonna increase scoring for sure. The pitch clock, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be good for TV. It's going to get over quick. The casual fan, watching on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, the games are going to be over. And I think the average so far is around 2.5 hours. I know the Diamondbacks played a game against the Cubs that clocked at 2 hours and 2 minutes, which is the shortest so far. That's insane. Like
That's really quick.
that's really fast. And I mean, like, yeah, for TV, it makes for quick TV, I guess. It keeps the casual fan entertained for a longer period, but I feel like those short games are going to have an effect in person. I love going to the stadium. I'm there, an hour and a half early just to watch BP walk around the concourse, get a beer, get a burger, a hot dog, whatever. But I just like being at a baseball stadium. There's something about it. I don't know. It just feels so American. But then when you're cutting that time almost in third, like you're there for, I don't know, the game's at 7, you're there. Game's at 6, you're there at 4:30. You don't leave till about 9, and now it's, hey, a third of this game time is now gone. So I don't know, quicker for TV, but I feel like it's going to be worse for people that enjoy going to games.
It's going to be closer to basketball and soccer than it is football. Whereas I think right now it was football. That was like the closest in times. But people were always saying, oh, football has the constant action because the clock is running.
It doesn't. The clock is running. There's not constant action, though.
But baseball doesn't have a clock, but now they do. So I get what you're saying. I think it's just going to be a shift from you're going to expect it to take the same time a basketball game does. And that's the difference. Whereas before you would expect to be there almost all night or all throughout the afternoon. Whereas now you can essentially go to a baseball game, get there on time, and then plan to do something afterwards instead of just it being your entire night, which is the big difference.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely still going to be longer games. Like that Diamondbacks Cubs game, I think had a combined 4 hits the entire game. So obviously, like those games are going to go quicker anyway. There's still going to be the games that are 11-8 with 25 hits. It's going to go 3 hours. There's going to be extra inning games that go longer, but if they can keep the average right around 2.5 to 2 hours and like 40 minutes, I think that's the perfect spot because I think it's usually right around 3 hours is the average time for a game. Get it down 30 minutes. I just don't want to see it go any lower than that.
Yeah, and spring training will be the time to adjust and see how teams adjust to it too, and also the players. So I'm glad they get this time to do it. But it'll be interesting for those that are in the World Baseball Classic because then they're not going to have it at all.
Are they doing these rules at the
Nope,
World Baseball Classic at all?
none at all.
Okay.
So then they're going to go from doing it in spring training to not doing it in the World Baseball Classic, and then I think there's like 4 days of spring training after the World Baseball Classic, and then it's back to the regular season. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, does Manny Machado forget about the batter 8 seconds? Does the pitcher Sandy Alcantara forget about 15 seconds between pitches? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how the international players change.
I think Manny already said that he expects to start in a lot of 0-1 counts this year, and we did see a couple of games end on a pitch clock violation. It was not the Cubs game, the Red Sox game. 3-2 count, bottom of the ninth, and the batter took too long to get in the box, and the game was over. I don't
Yep.
like that at all. I think there needs to be some sort of rule written in, like ninth inning needs to be no pitch timer, because ending a game on a hitter not getting in the box in time, I think, is a really shitty way of ending it. Like who wants to sit there for 2.5 hours and then have the game come down to, well, you didn't get in the box in time? I think there needs to be a rule of, maybe after the eighth inning. So anytime after the eighth inning, there's no pitch clock. I don't. They're not going to do that, but they definitely have some kinks to work out, because that's not how you want to see a baseball game end.
And I think they even said, like, if that how the game is going to end, spring training, you don't bat an eye. If it's the World Series,
Exactly.
you're in up in arms.
Yeah.
And then you're blaming, but then again, you're also blaming that player specifically, because it's the rules and that player has to know it and adjust, so it doesn't cost the team a larger goal. So I think there's gonna be so much hate on the player itself too.
Yeah, dude. If it's bases loaded, bottom of the ninth, full count, like, and that's how we get it, there's gonna be a lot of people up in arms. Like, yeah, it's spring training, whatever, but once the games start mattering, this is gonna be a big issue, I think.
Yeah. One other thing I did say with spring training too, which was cool, is the Cubs and Orioles played a game to where the game was over.
Yeah.
Essentially, they won the top of the ninth, but the Orioles wanted to keep going because they wanted to have their pitchers play more. But the umpires said, no, screw it. The game is technically over. So it was like backyard baseball. The catchers called the balls and strikes for the bottom of the ninth inning. No scoring happened, but it was still really cool to see that. Like, I mean, kind of shitty by the umpires. You can't do another half inning. Come on.
Yeah,
But
like, it's spring training, dude. Like, what else do we have to do? Oh, it was also the Pirates, not the Cubs.
Oh, sorry. But still, I'm like,
yeah,
you could ref another half an inning. So, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Who gives a shit? Like, just stay back. Like, it's fun. It's spring training. Like, half of these dudes don't give a fuck anyway. Like, just go out there.
Half of them are just non-roster invitees. Also, like the catcher had never made it above Double-A ball. He was there, like, a part of this.
Just be that. Like, take the extra fucking 15 minutes to call balls and strikes. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I thought it was I get it. The game is technically over, but, like, come on, have some fun. It's spring training.
Yeah. One person who's not having fun spring training is Gavin Lux. Tore his ACL, non-contact. He was running from second to third, and a ground ball hit the third. He was kind of like, was weird because he didn't want to like get in the way of the throw that was going to first in case it went to first. So he kind of like put his head down, lost his balance. As soon as he got to third base, you could tell that he was in extreme pain, grabbing his right knee, torn ACL, out for the season. Now the Dodgers are going to have to use Miguel Rojas, former Marlins great for the last 6 years. He's going to be their primary shortstop. I know they have Chris Taylor, who's going to take some games in there too, but it just stinks that it's in the preseason and in spring training, and you kind of wish it was a little bit shorter. You know, NFL went from 4 to 3 games last year and everybody didn't really care. So I wouldn't be surprised if the MLB did that too, spring training, but also for a lot of the people that live here, this is their only chance to go see a team. So I get it, yeah, both ways.
Yeah, especially like in South Florida, with it's spread out everywhere and tickets are cheap. Like, there's games from West Palm to Lakeland to Bradenton to everywhere in Florida where there's not teams. Like, this usually is your only chance to see maybe even your team if you're not a fan of, the Rays or the Marlins. I mean, that's what we always want to do. We're like, oh, the Tigers are playing in spring training. Like, let's go to a spring training game. And it's a lot of time. What am I trying to say? There's not a lot of like chances to see him in the regular season. I definitely would like to see spring training shortened, because, yeah, I mean, it's a good chance for a lot of guys to get acclimated to the big leagues and get big league experience. But at the same time, it's like most of these guys are going to be sitting back in low A, double A ball at the end of spring training anyway. So I'd like to see it maybe shortened a week or so. But I also just really want baseball to start. So
for sure.
Speaking of baseball starting, next week, the World Baseball, right? Yeah, next week the World Baseball Classic starts.
End of next week, yeah.
Yeah, end of next week. So we will have our first meaningful baseball next week. The USA takes the field. The Dominican Republic probably going to be the favorites. Japan, but I'm excited. You gonna be staying up late to watch the Cuba games?
In Japan? No way.
Yeah. You don't want
no,
to watch
Taiwan.
You don't want to watch Shohei Ohtani play Cuba at 4 a.m?
No way. No, I'm going to bed. I'll watch the Dominican Republic game because it's in Miami. But no, I'm not going to stay up till 4 a.m. I'll be network by myself on a sofa watching the games. I'm good.
That's what we used to do as kids. Come on.
Yeah, I'm not a
Something,
child. I'm 25.
something about waking up at 4 in the morning to first pitch on MLB Network. But
No, I'm good.
I think that's it for baseball. We'll have meaningful baseball to talk about. Probably not next episode because it's at the end of the week that it starts. Maybe if we do a late episode next week, we can talk about it. But if not, a couple episodes from now, we'll have actual baseball to talk about. Brings us to our last sport that we're going to talk about today, which the NFL. I don't think we've ever talked about them last at any of our podcasts, but a decent amount of stuff that's come out in the last couple of days about the NFL. And we'll start in Athens, Georgia. That doesn't sound, Jalen Carter.
That's his name.
Okay, I knew it was. I was like, that doesn't sound right. I'm like all over with my names today. But Jalen Carter arrested for reckless driving and racing in a crash that killed a teammate and staff member. Hold on, take over because I have to call.
Sure thing. So this report came out maybe a couple of hours ago, maybe an hour ago at least, to where it was reported as a single car accident initially, and then the investigators, he came back to the scene of the crime 2 to 3 hours later and admitted that he was there, part of 3 vehicles total that were at the scene. 2 of them were racing over 100 miles an hour. Both of those, or excuse me, the driver in the single car accident, who unfortunately passed, along with the football player, had a blood alcohol level twice the legal amount. And they don't know whether the car that was racing that car was his or if it was the other players. So either way, he is involved and he was in it. It was not involuntary manslaughter. It's not anything like that because it was a single car crash that occurred. However, it's just not a good look. I mean, he's going to turn himself in to the police after the combine. He already stated he's already working with the police department saying, don't arrest me while I do my 40 in Indianapolis. And it's going to be a misdemeanor because they're in Georgia for reckless driving. And again, he did not consume any alcohol. Jalen Carter was not drunk. He was fine. But I mean, it's going to cost him the first pick in the draft. It could cost him the top 5 pick in the draft. You know, people were making jokes comparing him to Henry Ruggs of the Raiders, who also.
Jesus.
But I mean, this is a different situation. He was not involved in the killing of his teammate, which he was very upset about. He only went home and back to the scene because he was scared, honestly, is what he told the police department. So he did come back and fully explain what happened, where he was. And I think like he was supposed to speak today at 10:30. They canceled all of his interviews this week. He has to figure it out and let teams know, hey, this was a one-off. We were celebrating our national championship, which the parade was earlier that day, and they were going crazy. And unfortunately, a teammate and a staff member passed or died because of this incident. And it's more so a reflective of that instead of who he is as a person.
Yeah, there's still more details coming out on it, so I don't want to speak too much. I still think, I mean, he was involved. I think he should be. You can't suspend him, obviously, because the season's over and he's not going to play for Georgia again. I think this should hurt his draft stock at some point, whether it's he falls a couple spots or he falls to out of the top 10. I do think character issues like this should affect where you go in the draft. You've got guys that 4.0 GPAs, never done anything wrong, and are a top player. I think I'd rather have them on my team than people that have shown like Henry Ruggs did, and obviously Jalen Carter didn't kill anyone, but at the same time he was in a situation that led to I think it was a recruiting analyst and another teammate's death. Unfortunate. I think this is definitely going to affect where he goes in the combine. We've seen it time and time again with drafts and how players act off the field and how it affects their draft stock. I think this will definitely hurt him a little bit.
For sure. And when he's actually doing his drills and stuff in the combine, we'll see if he's able to perform and if he's not thinking about this and affected by it personally as well.
I do also I do want to say I did read something that said that he did end up paying for a walk-on's food for all year with his scholarship. So I mean, he is like a good guy. This isn't like this guy's terrible. Like I hope he falls back 20, 25 spots. He made a mistake. I do think he should have to pay for that mistake. Same as Brandon Miller and what's going on with Alabama. I think he should have to pay for his mistake, but that's not saying he's a bad person overall. Just like he bought food for this kid for the entire year with his scholarship money. So though I think he should be punished. I do think people need to lay off of it a little bit until we get all the details, first of all. And they've done so much better PR than Alabama has, so I'm giving them the credit for that too.
Yeah, Kirby Smart literally said, like, we're supportive of the victim and their family because it was a player
Exactly.
and a staff member, and we are working with Jalen Carter at this time. You know, because it's like you're not indoctrinating him and having him guilty either, but you also understand it's not really what matters right now.
Yeah.
Is that what he did or not? It's just take care of the families of the people who are affected. So
Exactly. They've done so much better than Alabama has, so I'm gonna give them credit for that.
for sure. We did allude to the combine. I know that's where you're going with.
The combine.
Yep. It starts this week. I was looking forward to the quarterbacks because Bryce Young is not throwing. Every other major quarterback will be there and performing, but you know you've had all the draft talk since the season's been over about Bryce Young. Oh, he's too skinny. He's too small. All this kind of stuff. If he went out there and did a performance, he would shut up all that talk until April. But now he's going to have to wait till his pro day. But at the pro day, it's also not really similar situations. I'm not saying the combine's NFL level either, but I think it would have been better for him to have a better performance at the combine. But we'll also see if Will Levis has a good performance, see if Anthony Richardson has a good performance. You know, obviously CJ Stroud is looking like he's creeping up more to the number 1 overall pick because the Bears are looking like to trade it.
Yeah, so they've already said that they plan on trading the first pick, so
they do. And like, I think if Richardson does well and Levis does well, I'm not saying either of them are going to jump Bryce Young, but I think it's going to give teams pause about because Levis has the size, not the good resume. Richardson definitely has the size to be a quarterback, and if they do well throwing the ball and with their measurements and their evaluation in the combine, you could see 4 quarterbacks taken in the first round.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson, odds-wise, has shot up. I think at one point he was like plus 8,000 to go first. He's now, I think, plus 800. There is a lot of smoke here with Anthony Richardson. I don't think he should go number 1 at all. Yeah, he has the wow factor. He had it at Florida, but we've seen it with some other people before. It doesn't really ever work out. I don't know. He doesn't have a ton of experience in big games because Florida's been in the shitter the last, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. They've been really bad. He's good. He's electric. I don't think he's going to be a player that you want to spend a top 2 pick on to build around. If he falls to the mid-first round, then absolutely, yeah. But I don't think you're spending that first pick on Anthony Richardson.
He reminds me of Trey Lance. Like, he should not start his first year, you know? Like, obviously,
he definitely should not.
Trey Lance had better arm talent, I think, but I think he should not start. And unless it's like week 12, week 15, like kind of like Kamar did a couple years ago for Joe Flacco in Baltimore. Which I like that style. I like learning a lot your first year and starting at the very end. You know, Mahomes did the same thing for Kansas City. But he's going to go to a team that likely is desperate for a quarterback and will probably start him in as a starter, which if you look at Zach Wilson from New York, that's not the way to go. So I just hope he goes to a good – that's what you want. Like, you want these players to succeed, and you want them to be put in environments to where they'll succeed, you know?
Matt Ryan's still with the Colts, right?
Matt Ryan is still with the Colts, yes.
That'd be a perfect guy to sit behind for a year.
You'd think, but they also love Sam Ehlinger.
Who knows why?
God knows.
I mean, like that. I feel like that'd be a solid pick for Indy. I don't know where they are at in draft.
They're 4 though. You're not taking Anthony Richardson 4th overall.
But you could definitely trade back. You know, trade back into the 10 to 15 range for a team that wants to take a shot on Levis, because there's gonna be someone that trades up to take Will Levis. I already know what's gonna happen. But if you're the Colts, trade back. Take Anthony Richardson, have him sit behind Matt Ryan, who's a veteran quarterback that's been in big games, though he blew the big game that he was in. But still, I feel like, I mean, out of all the other quarterbacks right now in situations, like, you don't want them sitting behind Rodgers because they already have Jordan Love, first of all, and I feel like that's just a shit situation. But, like, what other veteran quarterbacks are there right now? Like, Stafford, you're going to go sit them behind Stafford? They don't even have a first-round pick this year. I can't. I think
the best team that Anthony Richardson could go behind is Minnesota.
With Kirk.
Because you get Kirk for 2 seasons, and then that's it, because the rest of his contract is done. Yeah. You got Justin Jefferson there. You got Dalvin Cook, who's a good running back. You got, like, that is a great situation for me, for, like, realizing. Like, he could go even to, like, Detroit if they wanted to like not spend that top pick on a quarterback.
Yeah,
But
there is rumblings about Anthony Richardson falling to Detroit, and I don't know. I think Jared Goff is a very, very good quarterback. I think he's going to be top 10 in the league next year.
that's what I'm saying. Golf did a good year last year too. I
Yeah,
showed the comparison
so
of him and Josh Allen last year,
yeah,
passing wise. So I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. We'll wait till April because there's speculation now. It means nothing. But
yeah, we saw it with Malik Willis last year. Like, oh my God, this guy might go like top 5, and then drops to what, the third round?
third round in Tennessee.
Yeah,
So
so
we'll wait. We have 7 weeks to the draft, and I'm sure there's gonna be trades that happen too. Like we talked about the Bears trading out of the number 1 overall spot. So I just want to see the combine. I want to see the quarterbacks. I want to see them do well, and then see if there's anybody that surprises. Like, does anybody break the 40-yard dash record that was set last year, 2 years ago? It got broken again.
I don't even remember.
The broad jump, Byron Jones, who can't, he literally said he can't jump or run because of his injury, broke the broad jump record in 2014. So I want to see somebody breaks that. And then is there like a 4th round talent that works his way up to the 2nd round? Because those are the players like Khalil Mack had a great combine and worked his way up to the 7th overall pick or 2nd pick, whichever it was. And that's because he had a great combine because he went to a nothing school. So I want to see if that happens at the combine.
He went to Buffalo, right?
He went to Buffalo, yeah.
Like, nobody from Buffalo is getting drafted top 2 coming out of Buffalo without like absolutely going crazy at the combine.
And Khalil Mack did that, so I want to see if that happens again.
I think Will Levis. It's gonna be all eyes on Will Levis. We saw it with Zach Wilson a couple years ago at his combine when he had the wow factor of, oh my God, dude, Zach Wilson's amazing, and then pans out to be not good. I think this is the exact same route Will Levis is going on. I don't think he's a good quarterback. I think he is a good quarterback. I don't think he's a great NFL quarterback. He'll be serviceable for wherever he plays, but I don't know. He gives off major Zach Wilson vibes.
Yeah, I agree. And Khalil Mack went 5th, and he had a 4.65 40 at the combine, which is crazy for someone that big.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah.
We had quite a few releases, and there was another one that hasn't happened, but there's speculation, and I'll get into that one first. Joe Mixon of the Bengals. It was reported that they haven't come to a contract extension, and if they do not, he will be released. I don't know if this is just smoke again. Saw it on Twitter. I don't know how you drop Joe Mixon. I know they're going to have to pay a lot of guys coming up with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. They have a lot of money that's going to be invested into this offense. Joe Mixon seems like he's going to be the odd man out.
I mean, there's a lot of good running backs in the market, and there's always good running backs coming out in the draft. So, I mean, if Joe Mixon wants like $15 million and you could get a running back for half that amount, I could see it. Because, like, the coach said today, like, they're not getting rid of T. Higgins. They're not getting rid of Jamar Chase or Joe Burrow. Like, those are the foundational pieces you need. If anything, get rid of Tyler Boyd, then you would those receivers and Joe, obviously. So if Mixon's the one out, I mean, I kind of get it because, I mean, Pirine has been okay as a backup, and I think they can get a replacement for cheaper. And they, like you said, they really are working against the cap. So even though the cap doesn't really exist because NFL executives find a way anyways to reorganize it with restructures, but that'd be a big name on the market if Mixon gets cut.
Yeah, it'd be crazy. Like, I don't know if we've had like this kind of cut, like a top, even top 5 to 7 running back just cut. I don't know the last time. I can't even think of like
Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell a few years ago.
That was it with the Steelers. Yeah.
But I don't know. They definitely are against the cap. They're going to have so much money tied into Burrow, Higgins, and Jamar Chase that there might not even be enough around to field the running back position, knowing how much they want to be paid. So could be interesting. A few more notable releases. Bobby Wagner, the consistent All-Pro Bobby Wagner, was released. I think the Dolphins could totally use Bobby Wagner.
I think he's got like 2 years left.
Yeah.
Like a really good play. Like maybe not All-Pro, but really good play. He was still All-Pro
this year, was he not? He was All-Pro second team.
I think he was second team, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think he's got 2 more years of like being close to that level in the future. And if you're a team on the contender needs a linebacker, which the Dolphins do, the Bills could use another one beside Matt Milano.
The Lions definitely could.
Lions definitely could. But again, it's like
beef up defense. So I mean,
it could. But will he go to Detroit? I'm not saying Detroit's not a standout location, but I mean, you talk about Jordan Poyer from the Bills.
Yeah,
Poyer talking about wanting to go.
Miami.
He is the worst he is the worst tampering person in the world. He has said, "I want to go to a team that's competitive like Miami, with a state that's got no income tax." So this guy is
he wants a warm state that won't take all of his money.
Yeah. Mike McDaniel even said, "I can't speak because I'm going to get in trouble for tampering."
Yeah.
He said that yesterday. So, but I mean, if Bobby Wagner wants to do the same thing, I mean, I wouldn't blame him. But I think like he's got 2 years left of good play.
He's definitely going to want to go to a team that's win now. I think the Dolphins are, they make that win now possible. They also don't have any money, so I don't know how it's really possible, but I'm sure they can rework Tyreek's contract. I'm sure they can rework something to get it to happen. But yeah, I mean, he was great. He was like PFF's #1 linebacker this year. Like he definitely still has more in the tank. Like you said, I think he has 2 to 3 years left. He's gonna want to go win a championship. I think the Dolphins could be a good fit. I think the Lions are a great fit for him, and I'll talk about the Lions more because his ex-teammate, no, well yeah, technically ex-teammate now, Jalen Ramsey has been in the trade talk rumor mill, and you know who's the #1 team in that trade mill rumor?
Lions. The Lions.
If the Lions can pull off Bobby Wagner and Jalen Ramsey, we already have a top 5 offense. The defense is what needs the most work. We have 2 first-round picks. Like if they can get one of these two, like I think they have like the 8th best odds to win the Super Bowl. They have the 2nd best odds to win the NFC next year.
That's crazy.
The NFC. People are betting on the Lions. If they can turn this defense around with Jalen Ramsey, who, yeah, he's definitely, I don't know if I'd say a bust, because he still is, he's an elite corner, but he's definitely not as good as he used to be anymore.
Yeah, he gets burned almost as much as he locks down receivers, but I think more often than not, he is above average or like closer to Pro Bowl level.
I'm
like
pretty sure he made All Pro again this year too. He might have been on like the 3rd team or something, but
yeah, he is a good player. Like he is worth. I think they want to get a 2nd rounder for him. He is worth that in my opinion.
I give up. Yeah, if the Lions have 2 2nd rounders, I'm giving up a 2nd round pick for him.
Yeah, because I mean his contract. He also stated though that he's not getting traded nowhere on Twitter. His own words, because I think he has some kind of trade clause in his contract.
He has a no trade clause, I think.
But yeah, I mean, because the Rams need picks and they need cheap players, and they can use the 2nd to draft his replacement. But I think the Lions would be great because him and Okudah, and I don't know who the 2nd quarterback is for the Lions.
There's some Kirby Joseph.
That's what it was. Like that'd be a really good secondary to have, and then you draft somebody for 1st round pick.
Armani Aruarie, who led the league in interceptions 2 years ago.
You draft that guy from Penn State, also that player in the secondary.
Why can I not? Joey Porter Jr.
Joey Porter Jr. Like that is an elite secondary for years to come if that happens.
And especially with the 6th pick now, we just talked about him, Jalen Carter. If he slides, he drops at 6.
I mean, that if you reinvest in the defense that much, I mean, the offense, I think you still need one more piece. I don't know if it's another running back that's not DeAndre Swift or Jamal Williams.
They need a tight end.
You need a tight end. They need a tight end really badly.
But we ended up scoring more touchdowns in like the 4 games without Hawk than we did all year with Hawk. So
we'll see.
It's going to be a really interesting offseason for Detroit. I think they should be one of the most talked about teams going into next year with all the draft picks. No, they won't. So many draft picks. They have cap room. They have the top 5 offense. Like this is going to be, and we'll talk about it in a little bit because it's my question of the day. This might be the year.
We'll see. Everyone says it's going to talk about Aaron Rodgers. We can see after being in the dark for 72 hours. No announcements yet. He went on the podcast today. Everyone expected him to make an announcement on the podcast, but he said by Sunday. He's like not one to drag these things out. So he said by Sunday he should have a decision he makes, because he hasn't reached a decision yet. It's not like he's dragging it out, but he has a very good idea of what it is. But
a couple more non-elite players released. Carson Wentz just has been the weirdest story, I feel like, in the last 5 years of going from not top of the world, but
MVP candidate.
An MVP candidate with Philly to now he's getting cut by the Colts. Was it the Colts that cut him? No.
Commanders. Washington Commanders.
Yeah. He was with the Colts at some point, got cut.
Last year.
Yeah. So I don't think he's going to get a starting job anywhere. The only place that I could see it would be like Vegas if they were like, come on down, Carson Wentz, and lead the rebuild. But I don't think he's going to get a starting job. He should be a backup from here on out.
Since that ACL tear that happened, he hasn't been the same quarterback. And I think teams are like fine and realizing that now. He's going to be on his fourth team now in 3 seasons. So he should be a backup for a team. He's going to be
an expensive backup, though.
But I think he could be a backup. He could be a backup for Buffalo. He could be a backup for Miami. He could be, like you said, someone that needs a quarterback. Hell, even Houston could use him. But I don't see him being that great.
But he's going to command so much money.
He shouldn't. He's not worth it.
That's the thing, is he's going to want that much. Because he is, a former MVP candidate. But, like, you don't need to spend a lot of money on backup quarterbacks. Look what Miami did with Matt Moore. Matt Moore was, like, the best backup quarterback that I can remember.
Got paid $6 million a year.
He wasn't like highly paid, and he won games. Was that the year that was the year Tannehill got hurt when we made the playoffs, right?
Yep, Matt Moore, 2016.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, like, you don't need to spend $20 million on a backup quarterback. So I think Wentz should be a backup. I just think that if someone wants him as a backup, they're gonna have to pay a lot.
I could say the same for Marcus Mariota too. He also just got released by the Falcons, and it's going to be a backup. He had a better season than Wentz because he didn't turn the ball over nearly as much, but it was also a run-first style offense at Atlanta.
He didn't really do much.
He didn't do much, but he wasn't that bad. Like it wasn't his fault a lot of the times they lost games. It was just Atlanta as a whole just terrible. But I think he could also go back. I mean, shoot, he could go back to Vegas and be the starter now. He was the backup for Carr the year before. But he's also, I think, in the same boat as Wentz. But I think teams will look kinder on Marcus Mariota because he also brings the rushing ability that Wentz does not have anymore. But again, he should be a backup. Like if Mariota was the backup to Tua in Miami, I would be really happy if that's the move.
Yeah, I feel like that's a solid move. He's also just not going to be a starter anywhere. Kenny Golladay was released, who I had fantasy teams named after this man. And then he goes to the Giants and catches 1 touchdown and costed him $32 million. That might be the biggest fall from grace ever because this man had a great rookie year in Detroit. Looked like he was going to be like a top 20 receiver in the league. And then just was like, fuck it, give me the money, I'm done.
This man was like Eric Ebron on the Lions before he found out he was decent with the Steelers or Colts.
Yeah.
Like, terrible seasons, terrible, like, fit. He shouldn't have left Detroit. We said that before. He went for the larger money, which it wasn't even larger because of state taxes. But, yeah, just a bad signing. It's going to take a lot for it. Like, he'll get a OTA invite and to training camp, but I don't know if he's going to make a roster next season. I mean, maybe for like Houston that will need one, or for a team like Tennessee that's desperate for a receiver, but not really bad choice retrospectively. And we kind of knew it when it happened too.
Oh yeah. Once he left Detroit, I was like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, what they have going on now is perfect. Why would you, he wanted to win. I think he'll make a roster, like you said, with Tennessee or Houston. I think he might make a decent roster. He's just never going to be the number one anymore, ever. I don't think you're paying him. You're probably not paying him 1, 2, or 3. You're paying him slot money, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like he should not be paid as a number one. I mean, if he went to like a Bills as like their number 3 guy with Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, Kenny Golladay, I feel like that's okay. But he's never going to be a top of the line guy again.
Yeah, I agree.
And last but not least, and kind of surprising, big name that did get cut, obviously not as big as Joe Mixon would have been. Playoff Lenny. Leonard Fournette is out of Tampa Bay. I don't know. I'm not quite sure I understand this one.
So he requested his release.
Oh, did he?
He asked the team because he doesn't believe that Tampa Bay is going to be competing next season, which is true because they said Kyle Trask is our guy. They are really up against the cap because $30 million is for Tom Brady who retired. They still have to pay that money via the cap. So he was like, I'm gonna save you guys some money, but I'm gonna go to a team that I know I can compete with. And he even said he's at the age where he wants to win rings. So he's gonna go to a team that definitely either just missed or made the playoffs last year. And he doesn't feel like Tampa is one of them. So I get it. I mean,
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Then I didn't know he asked to be released. I just saw that they cut him, and I was like,
no, he
why?
said, I don't want to be here if
Okay,
you're starting Kyle
that
Trask.
that makes more sense. I can see him going to like Philly if Miles Sanders gets traded and or released or whatever they end up doing with Miles Sanders. He's a good. We always talk about Miami, but Miami has no money. Like
But they also have no running
they
backs
have
in the
also have
roster.
no running backs. I
So
see
they got to sign somebody.
Miami's probably just going to end up bringing back Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert. I think that's probably the safe bet. Bringing in Lenny instead of one of the other two, yeah, it's more expensive. Could be a little bit more lucrative, profitable. He's going to bring the playoff experience. Obviously, it's playoff Lenny for a reason. Um, I don't know. I think he could be a decent, serviceable starter on a bunch of teams. I think he could also be a really good number two on a lot of teams.
Again, there's just so many running backs. Like
There
Saquon
is.
is still like, the Giants are going to tag Daniel Jones, which means Saquon's probably going to be able to walk if they don't get a contract. Josh Jacobs is a free agent. Miles Sanders is a free agent.
Joe
Obviously,
Mixon might be getting
Lenny,
cut.
Joe Mixon might be like. There's going to be a lot of players that teams are going to try to sign, but again, do you pay running backs that much money? Is the biggest deal they're going to think of. Saquon, yes. Josh Jacobs, yes. Lenny,
Probably not.
I'd say like $9 million is the most I'd pay him.
Yeah, I think if you make him top 20 paid, that's probably right around that 15 to 20 mark, but you're not paying him top 10 money.
No way.
No. I think that's it for football. You got anything else?
No.
You know what we didn't do this week? We didn't do our fantasy rankings. I didn't write mine down.
Oh, that's fine. We'll get into receivers next
We'll
week.
do that. That's the next week thing. I completely forgot that when I
We'll get into
scrolling
receivers
through
next week. Don't worry.
the doc and didn't see that on there.
After your bet of going bald with James Conner is in the top 5, we needed a week off.
We needed a week,
we needed
off
a week
after
away.
That one. If you didn't hear, I bet that James Conner will be a top 10 fantasy running back. And if he is not, I have to shave my head. So
and reminder, it's top 5, not top 10.
No.
It's top 5. It's top 5.
I believe in him. I believe in James Conner. So we still have our wide receivers and tight ends to talk about. So those will be the next 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any other football stuff. There's a couple of other things we got to talk about, but episode is running kind of long, so we're gonna breeze through them if you don't have anything else.
Nope. Go for it.
All right, Saturday, UFC 285. He makes his return. John Jones Bones against Cyril Gahn for the heavyweight championship. John Jones has not fought since 2020. He was suspended. He took some time off with some contract disputes and the suspension for using roids. And I don't know if you follow UFC. I know we watched the UFC together when we were in LA, but yep. I'm excited for this one. I don't know if you're planning on watching, but when John Jones is back, he is arguably a top 5 fighter of all time. He's the number 1 pound for pound. I'm excited. I don't know if you plan on watching this at all.
I don't watch every UFC fight, but I do watch some. And I know when John Jones was in it, he was very entertaining and he was very tough to stop. I mean, even in the UFC video games, this guy is like 94 overall. Like he is a great fighter, and like he has the reach. He has just the power behind everything he does. He's great on the ground as well. So, but again, it's the time off. Like, does he think he can compete for a championship after so many times or for a welterweight belt? I don't know, but we'll see.
Hasn't fought in 3 years. He's coming back. First fight is for the heavyweight title. So
yeah,
that just speaks to, and that's not even, he never fights in heavyweight. He's not a heavyweight. He's a light heavyweight normally. He's going up fighting Cyril Gahn for the interim. I think it's interim right now because Prochaska's not fighting. But I'm excited. Valentina Shevchenko is on that card as well. Her and Amanda Nunes have fought so many times. I feel like they're both towards the ends of their career. I would love to see I would love to see another Shevchenko versus Nunes fight to like have both of them ride off into the sunset on one last fight. Excited for the UFC. I think the PGA Tour is this weekend. There's I think it's against the Arnold Palmer. I think Tiger is not in it, unfortunately, but we'll be watching that. I have the question of the week, and that's going to be, I think, the last thing we talk about today. So, if you could pick one team out of all the teams you follow to win one championship, but that's it. You get one championship for the rest of your life. Who are you picking?
Easy answer, the Dolphins. And here's why. The Heat have won 3 since I've been alive. The Marlins have won 2 since I've been alive. I don't care about hockey. And the Dolphins haven't won one since my dad was our age. So I think it's time for the Dolphins to win a title. I mean, if they do it next season and that's it, that's great. I think my second choice would be the Marlins because the Heat have done it so recently. They were a game away from the finals last year. And the only reason why I even came with the Marlins is because even if the Dolphins don't win the title, I could see them getting to the Super Bowl right now. I don't know if the Marlins can get to the World Series unless this rule happens, you know? So I'm still picking the Dolphins, though, because, like, nothing beats an NFL Super Bowl. I mean, the Eagles, oh, my gosh, they went crazy when they won, and they've been able to relish on that fact since, same as, obviously, the Patriots have won so many. But, yeah, I'm taking the Dolphins.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same kind of thinking as you. I'm taking the Lions. Like, they have been putrid ever since I was alive. Haven't been relevant since Barry. Like, I've seen the Wings win in my life. As much as I would love to see them win again, I've seen the Wings win a couple of times. The Pistons have won in my lifetime. The Tigers have not, but the Tigers have been good in my lifetime. We've made World Series. We should have beat the Giants. We didn't. But I think I'm taking the Lions. And like knowing that like your team could still make the playoffs, you just know that they won't win the championship. I'm fine with that. If the Wings make the Stanley Cup and beat all of the teams I hate on the way, and I know they lose the Stanley Cup, it's like whatever. We still beat everybody. Like I think you could still get excited for the playoffs. Obviously not as much as you normally would, but I feel like I'm taking the Lions because, dude, you wouldn't hear from me for like a week. Like ever.
Are you taking the Lions over Michigan football?
Oh yes.
Easily.
Oh fuck Michigan football. Yes, I'm taking the Lions. Oh, I mean it gets interesting because then you're like, well, Auburn, and it's like, damn. I know I'd go crazy if Auburn won, but like, at the same time, I'm a Lions fan till I die. So
yeah,
I gotta go with Detroit. I thought that was gonna be a little bit more controversial than
No, easy choice.
because I guess you've seen a bunch of Heat. The Heat have won. I mean, the Marlins suck.
My teams have won championships since I've been alive, Taylor, not yours.
Hey, whoa. That's not – I just said they have.
I know, but like –
the Wings have like 3 cups since I've been alive. The Pistons have 1, 2, 1, 04,
1.
1. Yeah, 04.
1.
And, I mean, the Tigers – we don't talk about them, but
we don't talk about
like the Lions have never made a fucking. They haven't won a playoff game since I've been alive. So seeing them win a World Series is like
that's true.
Yeah, bro, I'm going. Like if I know that we're winning that Super Bowl, I'm going to that Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I don't care where it's at.
I will say it is March, so I just wanted to end it with a reason to watch the actual conference tournaments that happen for March Madness. Since '93, every team that has won the March Madness made it to at least their semifinal games in their conference tournaments. So if you see like Purdue lose in the quarterfinals, if you see Alabama lose in the quarterfinals, the SEC tournament, don't pick them because they're not winning it all. And
I'm picking them. That's what I'm doing this year. I am picking a good team that loses in the quarterfinals.
And of the final 4 teams since 1993, only 2 lost in the quarterfinals. One of them being, I believe it was Michigan and Auburn were the 2. So
because when we made our Final Four, I think we got smoked in the first round of the SEC tournament.
So again, if you're checking out the conference tournaments, make sure you pick only semifinalists or finalists. So I think that's it, though.
I'm picking a quarterfinalist since 1993. Like
93.
The odds that this keeps happening are improbable. I am picking a good top like 15 team that loses in the quarterfinal to win.
Watch, none of them are going to. It's like all of them are going to make it to the to the final. But I think that's it. I like Marquette. I told you.
They're not winning the championship.
I told you. Baylor and Marquette are my 2 teams to watch out for, man. I like both those schools. But I think that's it for this episode, unless you have anything to watch.
No, I keep feeling we're trying to make these episodes shorter and shorter, and they just end up getting longer and longer. So we might have to start splitting these up into like 2 episodes. But yeah,
we'll see.
Excited for UFC this weekend. Excited for baseball next week. But I don't have anything else to add.
I think episode 13 brought us some unlucky technical difficulties, which will not happen in the future. But apologize for that. But I think that's it.
This man is always on the road over here.
I will be at my house next week. So
Perfect.
after that, I don't know. I can't tell you, but we'll see what happens after that.
Episode 17, recording from the doctor's office.
Yeah, episode 20. I'm with a patient in clinic.
Committing HIPAA violations live.
No, I think that's it. Until next time, I'm Alex.
I'm Taylor.
And we'll see you then.